Hi guys, thank you for joining me, and today we're doing some of the final preparations. Stay tuned. So, what I've got going on here, a piece of band-aid which I'm cutting up in pieces to make some Char cloth. That will be actually in a different video. But first of all, let me explain why we are still not being outside. Well, the last few weekends, which is the only time I can actually go outside, we have had some storms and some really bad ones. You don't really want to be outside in the forest just for fun when it's storming, because there will be debris, there will be falling trees, there will be flying, well, you name it. And on top of that, nature is a little bit, of course, it is unusually warm lately, and actually it's mid-February now, and there's already ticks and adders active in nature, which is very unusual. And a couple of days ago I went to check the forest, the patch where I usually go, just to see if it was somewhat suitable to start filming there. But I came home with a couple of ticks, and I hate ticks. I really hate them. They are the nastiest parasite I can think of to encounter in the forest. So out came the first aid kit, of course. And in the first aid kit I always carry some, what do you call them in English? Tick pliers? I don't know. And this is a really cheap one. You can extend it, grab the tick, pull it out. This one does basically the same. And what you want to do is get ticks off of you as fast as possible, because they often carry Lyme disease and you don't want that. You really don't. Now when you apply these tick pliers, make sure you don't cut them in half, because then the head will stay stuck inside your body, and that's not good either. So just grab them gently and pull them out, dispose of them, and you should be good to go. Now, what I'm doing with these pieces of band-aid, this is, by the way, 100% not going cotton, and cotton takes spark really easy, especially if you use it as a wick in combination with some petroleum jelly like Vaseline. It acts mostly like a normal candle. If you light that candle, the wax around the wick will melt, and below it it will melt, sucking up the fuel through the wick into the flame. And as we all know, to have a proper fire, you need to have air, you need to have fuel, and you need to have heat. And with that sacred triangle, you make sure that you have all the right ingredients to keep a fire going. Now, with the char cloth that I'm preparing here right now, and again that's going to be a different video because I don't want to make fire inside the house, you can transfer heat from a fire steel really easy onto the char cloth. It will take a spark really easy, and that should get your fire going. Alternatively, there's people that use the paraffin jelly stuff, Vaseline, with some normal cotton wool, which has a much rougher surface and it will take a spark or a small flame a lot faster. To demonstrate that, I have a old piece of tin. With the cotton wool, if you have a small bit of fire, it gets going immediately. With the cotton fabric, which is basically the wick, always have backups. You see, this burns a lot slower, and that will make sure the fuel can get in a lot easier. This is the wick in action, basically. Now, with that being demonstrated, let's make a couple more. And I just use a empty old tin. I can put them in there. And you'll see that again in another episode, of course. So if you like what I'm doing, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever I'm uploading something new. When you're going outside into a forest, just like the one that is nearby me, you really can't leave the house towards the forest without some proper insect spray. This type has a lot of DEET in it, which makes sure that the ticks are repelled. They really don't like the smell and you'll be a lot safer. Now, of course, safety starts with you. So there's the DEET, which does a lot. And of course you can always tuck your pants in your socks. And that way they can't crawl underneath your trouser legs. Now, let's a couple more. Now, with the preparations that we are doing, of course we're going to take a little bit more than just a bit of cotton. And we're also going to take the proper gear, knives, whatever is needed. And have you ever wondered why nowadays most knives have a plastic sheath, plastic handle, and are mostly stainless steel? Ever wondered? Well, here's a bit why. When you're going outside, most of the time you're going to encounter a lot of moist. And if you have wooden handles or a leather sheath, it is always there's always a chance, let me say it correctly, that the moist will get into the handle, corrode your blade or whatever. But there's always a solution, of course, for when you really want to take those out into the wild. A good while back, when I just started to learn how to make my own knives according to my own specifications, in the previous video you've seen this one come by. I also have another one, which is a first tested stainless steel. This is a very sturdy one. Well, things didn't really work out when I took them out for the first time, because there was a lot of rain and the handle started to crack immediately. So That was not a great success, but I have learned. If you take a look at the handle, you can still see the cracks that I have had to repair. Yeah, see them? But if you oil them, that is protecting and maintaining the wood and the quality. The oil basically covers your handle with a protective layer, but not just any oil. Now what I use is ballast oil, and that's a universal oil. It's even food grade safe, and Americans, pay attention, you can even use it to polish your weapons with it. Now some of the people that I've talked to even suggested using lamp oil. Don't do that. That is way too greasy, and you don't want to have your knife slipping out of your hand, of course. So when you apply the oil, make sure you really get it in there. Don't overdo it, and just make sure that the wood is protected. That's all there is to it. Now, while I've been preparing for this video, thinking about the topics that I wanted to talk about today, I have also taken a trip to my family. I took a train, and something interesting happened right there. Because in the train, it was pretty crowded, and the only available seat was in a four-seater booth. 3 of the seats were occupied, but I sat there anyway. And the 3 younger guys there, they were staring outside, sometimes talking to each other, and they saw some deer running around the field. One of them mentioned, "Hey, I wonder what those taste like." I was like, they taste good. That's good food right there. And they were like, "Oh, so you must be a hunter then. Do you hunt deer? Do you hunt your own meat?" I said, "No, it's part of the disciplines that I practice because I'm a bushcrafter, so it's a lot wider than you can imagine right now." "Oh, so you're one of those savages that runs around the forest and..." Well, a lot of dumb babbling came out of those guys. But anyway, I tried to set them straight by explaining a little bit about what it is bushcrafter does, how we treat nature. Even taught them to always bring a garbage bag when they go into the forest so they don't leave shit behind. And that was quite necessary even because these guys thought it was the most hilarious thing in the world to just go out into a forest, make a huge bonfire, party all night, loud music, and they thought that that was the definition of a good time. Well, maybe to some of them it is, but definitely not for me. When I hang out my hammock in the forest, I really want to be alone with nature under the billion-star hotel. $1 million, where did I get that from? Anyway, the topic changed a little bit about from making just fires and having a good time to where to find food. And then they actually said something that amazed me, because a couple of videos back I've talked about this. They thought it was very, very easy to always find food in the forest because every plant and every mushroom was edible, they think. Not true. For every plant that you can eat, there's some plant that looks a lot like it, but is definitely not edible. Same goes for the mushrooms. You can't just eat anything. Now when it comes to picking plants and assuming you have the knowledge, if you don't, use an app on your phone to identify proper plants and make sure that you are correct. A lot of apps that you can download nowadays which actually do help a little bit in the right direction always have some false positives, which means that they tell you that you can actually eat that plant, but you can't. So make sure that you have the right knowledge, identify properly, and don't eat it before that. When it comes to trapping, these guys thought that a very simple loop would catch them dinner every single day. Well, that's not true, and there's a reason why there's a lot of different types of traps, which you obviously also have to practice. On my website www.vanmunster.nu I have a forum. Please go there if you're interested in trapping, because I've listed a couple of the traps that I practice myself, and you can do those too. Just make sure you do it in a safe environment where it's allowed, because a lot of those traps, they are actually lethal, and you don't want any innocent deaths on your hands. So don't practice it where there's kids about, don't practice them where there's anyone around for that matter, because those things can be deadly. But even if you are the most experienced trapper anywhere on the planet, that is still no guarantee that you'll actually catch anything. So when you're going out in the forest, make sure to bring a couple of days worth of rations so that you at least have something to eat while you're starting up your camp. And when you are starting up your camp, make sure that when you start a fire, that you do that in a safe and responsible way as well. Because there's a lot of places in the forest where you really don't want to start a fire. Mainly in the drier areas, when there's a lot of drought, you don't want to have that fire going over there. Why not? Because sparks can go flying. The heat of your fire can actually get into the ground and reach spruces, pines, birch bark, and those all are very flammable. Most of them contain a sort of oil, and if you smell that, it actually smells a bit like paraffin. And you don't want to set the entire forest on fire, like this idiot did. He thought it was nice to have a bonfire going. What happened? He set half the state on fire. It was in America, by the way. Then I was still talking to those new guys. Everybody has to learn sometime, so we're talking actually for over 2 hours. Then one of them admitted to having a K-bar knife, and he didn't really want to use it. He just bought it. It looks pretty. He put it in a drawer and it never left there. What's the purpose of buying it then? Well, it looked nice. If you're going to use, if you're going to buy a knife, use it. And if you don't want to really use it, what's the purpose of buying it? Every steel or iron molecule is directed in a certain way during the forging or pressing, and over time, if you don't use them, the knife will get duller and duller because the atoms, they are rearranging themselves to their original position again. So if you have a knife, use it. Not on somebody else, by the way. No, don't do that. Just go out, practice, and in hopefully the next episode, we're going to actually show some proper knife usage, get a fire going, and have a great time out there. Well, for now, that is basically all I have. So if you go out there, if the weather is nicer in your area compared to mine, stay safe out there and work with nature, not against it, and leave no trace out there. See you next time, guys. Bye bye.